The Family of Shadows, a tale of sibling rivalry, secrets, and sinister truths. The rivalry that should never have been. The sibling rivalry was never truly about competition. It was never about who was more successful, who was loved more, or who had the better life. This was something far more sinister. For years, one sibling, Eve, felt the weight of something unspoken, something dark lurking beneath the surface of her family. From childhood, there was a clear divide. Eve was an outsider, while her sibling was given power, favor, and control. Her sibling ruled over her like a self-appointed king or queen. Every move Eve made was watched, criticized, sabotaged. It was almost as if her mere existence threatened some unseen force, a secret so monstrous, so revolting, that it had to be protected at all costs. The parental puppet masters, Eve's guardians, were not her protectors, but the architects of her suffering. They empowered her sibling. They encouraged the rivalry. They planted lies to make Eve look like the villain. And as she grew older, Eve realized something terrifying. Her sibling wasn't just the favorite. They were being groomed. The unnatural bond between the parent and the sibling was something she couldn't put into words at first, but as she pieced the clues together, the looks, the whispers, the way her sibling behaved as though they were above her, the horrifying truth became clear. This wasn't just favoritism, this was something else. The grooming and the silence. The siblings' behavior was erratic. They wielded power over Eve with a smug arrogance, believing they were untouchable. They slept around recklessly, including with people connected to Eve. They spread lies to isolate Eve from friends and loved ones. They sabotaged every opportunity Eve had to rise above the family dysfunction. But why? Why did this sibling feel so untouchable? Why did the parents encourage it? Then she saw it. She remembered. A flash of memory. A time when she had walked into a room she was never supposed to see. A moment she was supposed to forget. The family's darkest secret. There had always been whispers. Rumors of something wrong in the family. And then it hit her like a freight train. This wasn't just favoritism. This was forced incest. Her sibling wasn't just an entitled, spoiled brat. They were a victim. The parent wasn't just controlling, they were a predator. Everything made sense now. The grooming. The unbreakable bond. The way the sibling felt superior, as if they had a deeper connection with the parent than Eve ever could. Because they did. They had been used, and in turn, they used others. They became what had been done to them. And now, they were desperate to keep the secret buried. The child born of darkness. Eve began to connect the dots. The sibling had a child, but no one knew who the father was. And the sibling refused to speak about it. The truth was too monstrous to imagine. The child. Could it be? Could the child be the result of the unspeakable? A family trapped in a cycle of darkness, breeding its own trauma, its own sins. Eve knew she had to leave, but they wouldn't let her. The trap, the poison, and the failed ritual. They had tried to poison her. They had laced her food with substances meant to weaken her mind, to keep her from remembering. They had groomed the sibling to believe they were the chosen one. Eve was the enemy. But Eve didn't fall, and now they were desperate. The sibling had no identity beyond what had been given to them by the parental puppet masters. If the truth came out, their entire world would collapse, so they tried to set Eve up. Lies were spread, false accusations were made. They even tried to involve the law. But it was too late. The truth was out. The downfall and the curse of the bloodline. The authorities had been tipped off. The child's paternity was going to be investigated. Everything was unraveling. The family's darkest secret was exposed. The siblings' reign of terror was over. And the parent, facing justice at last, the curse that had plagued the bloodline for generations was finally being severed. But at what cost? Eve walked away, leaving behind the ruins of the only family she had ever known. And as she disappeared into the night, she made a vow. The cycle would not continue. The past would not be repeated. The darkness would end with her.